Hello all, welcome to today's session. Today we are learning about essential elements of a valid contract. It is one of the most important questions which you can expect in the examination. First of all, we have to know what is called as contract. As we have discussed earlier, right, in the previous videos, what is called as a valid contract? Offer plus acceptance is equals to what? Agreement. Once it is enforceable by law, then only it becomes a valid contract. Section 10 of the Indian Contract Act 1872 explains the essential elements of a valid contract. So if we take up here, ma'am, from where we are taking the lead, it is mentioned in the section 10 of the Indian Contract Act 1872. So these many elements should be there to form a valid contract. It says all contracts or agreements, if they are made by free consent of parties competent to contract for a lawful consideration and with a lawful object and not hereby expressly declared to be void. As usual, you will not understand anything from this. Once we explain or once we learn all of the important elements of a valid contract, you will be learning this definition on your own, right? Okay, first we'll go for. Okay, as we have already discussed, what is called as valid contract? Offer, right? Yes, or proposal. And next thing is what? Acceptance should be there. Yes, it should be enforceable by law. In the sense what? It should have some intention to create a legal relationship among the parties. Then it should be for a lawful consideration. Then capacity of parties. Then free and genuine consent. Then lawful object not declared to be void. Certainty or possibility of performance. Then last point which we have is what? Legal formalities. So we have 10 essential elements of a valid contract. Now we'll be looking into one by one. So what is called as valid contract? Again, don't think that ma'am, you're asking me the same question again and again. The thing is, like, from that only you will be able to write 3 points. So first 3 points, right? First thing, what is called as offer? Yes, in order to enter into a contract, one party has to offer to the other party. So the offer is a foundation for the creation of an agreement between the two parties. One party should make an offer and the other party has to accept it. The person who is making the offer, right? See, here we have Mr. A and here we have Mr. B. Okay, Mr. A is offering to whom? Mr. B, right? The person who is making the offer or proposal is called as what? Promisor, offerer or proposal. Are you getting me? Yes. Next. Okay, Mr. A offered. Now what Mr. B has to do? He has to give his acceptance, right? So the offer when accepted turns into an what? Agreement. Here comes the question. If it is enforceable by law, then only it becomes a valid contract. Now you understood why I am asking you to say that equation again and again? Because first offer is given, then acceptance is given by the other party. If it is enforceable by law, that is in the sense what? If it is approved by law, then only it becomes a valid contract. Right? The person who is accepting the offer, he is called as what? An acceptor or offeree or promisee. An acceptance to be valid should be communicated to the offerer properly. See, if you take it in the previous case, we have Mr. A and Mr. B, right? Mr. A is offering to Mr. B. So, Mr. B has to convey his consent, in the sense what? Acceptance to Mr. A properly. Properly in the sense what? In whichever manner they have been discussing to what? Convey their acceptance. Maybe through phone, through fax, through mail, WhatsApp or whichever means, right? This is called as what? It should be communicated to the offerer properly. Are you getting me, all of you? Yes. Our next point is what? Intention to create legal relationship. See, we already studied, right, in under all contracts or agreements, but all agreements are not contracts. Certain agreements, by the prima facie, in the starting point itself, law is saying that what? The parties who are entering into such kind of relationship, it will not be having any legal effect or will not create any legal obligations. Right? There must be an intention to create legal relationship between parties. Did you understand now to which question we are referring now? Of course, agreements of whenever the parties are entering into agreement in terms of social nature, domestic nature, religious and moral nature, it will not be creating any legal relationship or obligation between the parties. Right? Yes. See, if there is no such intention, in the sense what? If they does not have any of the legal relationship, then it becomes only an agreement but not a contract. Because already we studied, right? Offer plus acceptance is equals to what? Agreement. Right? And the subject matter of the agreement must be what? For which purpose the parties are entering into contract or agreement is what? Should be approved by law. If it is not approved by law, it will be stopping in the agreement stage itself. Hence, does not create a valid contract between the parties. For example, you take up this case, did you remember? Balfour versus Balfour. Yes, it's a famous case, right? We studied under which heading this one? All contracts are agreements, but all agreements are not contracts. Under which nature? Domestic nature, family nature. See, next we are going to discuss one case which appeared in an examination. See, for this, like, I'll be saying you just answer, okay? You have to justify under which topic we studied, whether it is valid or not, right? Mr. A invites Mr. B to dinner at his residence on Sunday, okay? In the sense what Mr. A is calling one of his colleague, Mr. B, please come to my home on Sunday to have dinner party with me. Mr. B hires a taxi and reaches Mr. A's house at appointed time, for example at 6 o'clock. But Mr. A fails to perform his promise. Can Mr. B recover any damages from Mr. A? Can he? Yes? Yes or no? Yes, it's correct. It's what? No. Because the relationship which has been existing between Mr. A and Mr. B is what? Agreements of social nature, right? It does not create any legal obligations. Hence, Mr. B cannot recover any damages from Mr. A. Are you getting me, all of you? Yes? Okay. Next one. Lawful consideration. What is called consideration? Consideration means what? Something in written. When both the parties are entering into contract from each other, they have to get something. For example, I am selling you this pen for 500 rupees. Okay. For you, what? Pen you are getting from me. And from me, from you what I am getting? I am getting 500 rupees. Right. And to you, pen is a consideration. Are you getting me? Both the parties, we are exchanging something in return. Right. I am selling this pen to you. You are getting what? Pen from me. Let me assume that cost of the pen is what? 500 rupees. From you, what I am getting back? 500 rupees. Are you getting me? So, generally, a contract without consideration is not enforceable by law. It may be relating to the past, present or future, or it can be in cash or in kind, a promise to do or not to do something, but it should have some value in the eyes of law. See, all of these points, don't worry. When we are explaining or when we are listening to what is called as consideration, explaining the essentials of valid consideration, at this point we'll be learning this in detail. Right now, just understand what is called as consideration. It is something in return. And we have a famous case also. Case example is what? Abdul Aziz versus Mozam Ali. Did you remember under which heading we studied this case? Yes, I can listen to this, all of you. All contracts are agreements, but all agreements are not contracts. We studied under what? Agreements of religious nature. Yes, Abdul Aziz, he made a promise voluntary to Mozam Ali, whereas Mr. Mozam Ali, he did not incur any liability. He went to court, right? He filed a suit against Abdul Aziz. The court declared what? It's because of Abdul Aziz, you did not incur any liability, so you cannot claim any damages from Abdul Aziz, right? Okay. Hope so you understood till now. Next we are going for capacity of parties. Both the parties of the contract must have a contractual capacity. Contractual in the sense what? Law is saying that, see, of course all of them can enter into a contract, but law is saying that a person who is entering into a contract should be getting qualified by law. In the sense what? Should be getting eligible by law. Section 10 says that an agreement becomes a contract if it is entered by the parties competent in the sense what? Eligible to enter into a contract. Section 11 is saying that, okay, see, section 10 is saying that what? The parties should have the competency or the qualification to enter into a contract. Then comes the question, ma'am, who are all qualified? Right? Who are all eligible to enter into a contract? So, section 11 is saying every person is competent in the sense what? Eligible to enter into a contract if he is of, first thing is what? Age of the majority, right? And who is of having what? Sound mind. And next what? Not disqualified from any law to which he is subject, right? Okay. So these are called as what? Qualifications. Ma'am, we are not getting anything. It's okay, fine. Once we understand who are all incompetent, you will be able to write competent person on your own. First, this thing is what? Section 12 declares the following persons as incompetent to contract in the sense what? Disqualified by law. Who are those? Minors. Minors in the sense what? Can you look at the children here? Of course, no, we have beautiful children here. Right? Next, section 3 says, as per Indian Majority Act 1875, a minor is a person who has not completed 18 years of age. Right? Next one, a minor can attain majority only after 21 years of age in below cases. See, basically if we take up here, when can a person is called as what? A minor who has not completed 18 years of age. But we have a certain exception for this. For example, a minor child is not having parents, okay? One of his or her guardian has been appointed as a guardian for him as well as for his property. At that time, he will be attaining majority only after completing 21 years of age. Whereas the minor child is not having any relative. The court has been appointed as what? The guardian for the minor child. At that time also, he will be attaining majority only after 21 years of age. Are you getting me? Next, persons of unsound mind. We have idiots. Idiots means what? Lack of brain development. For example, you take a 30 years old person, but he'll be behaving like 5 years old kid. He's called as what? Idiot. And drunkard means what? Those are being intoxicated by alcohol, like consuming drugs or alcohol. They are called as what? Drunkards. And next is what? Lunatic. Lunatic means what? Those are not having any judgmental capacity. Those are not knowing what is good or bad for them. Right? Insane person. Insane means what? We'll be calling it as mental, right? Yes. And these people are called as what? Persons of unsound mind. Because if you take up all these people, they'll not be able to judge what is good or bad for them. Next, person disqualified by any law to which they are subject. For example, an agreement with an alien enemy. Alien means what? Indirect enemy. For example, a war has been declared between India and Pakistan. Okay, if you trade with any of your customers in Pakistan, then they are called as what? Alien enemies, because indirectly you are supporting your enemy country economy to grow. And next is what? Convict. Who is called as a convict? The court has given judgment on a person. It's because he is guilty, right? For example, like sent to jail for 7 years and he has to pay a penalty of 50,000 along with the jail period, like that. And next is called as what? Insolvent. Insolvent means what? The person who is commercially dead, he is called as what? Insolvent, because its assets are less than his liabilities, right? In the sense, like I can say you, his liabilities are more than his assets, right? And these persons are what? Disqualified by law. Are you getting me now? Capacity of the parties. So if you understand this incompetent, automatically you will be able to write the competent. Next one, free and genuine consent. Free and genuine consent in the sense what? When both the parties are entering into a contract, one person has to get the acceptance of the other person, what? Out of his own will and pleasure, without any physical or mental force. Did you remember physical and mental force means what? This one already we have discussed, right? Can you recollect and say me from where did we learn? Of course, under coercion. I told you, right? Physical force, mental force, verbal abusing, all these things will be coming under what? Coercion. And we studied under voidable contracts, right? What are those voidable contracts? Coercion we studied, undue influence we studied, fraud we studied, misrepresentation we studied. So always remember one thing. Whenever the other party is getting the acceptance from one party, the other party who is giving the acceptance must be giving his acceptance out of his what? His own will and wish. In the sense what? In a happy manner. Not by compulsion, not by threat, or not by employing some undue advantage on them. Right? Okay. So flaws in consent in the sense what? Flaws in the sense what? For example, like false in what? Getting the acceptance. What is called as false? Whenever the consent of the other party, okay, is been obtained by coercion, undue influence, fraud and misrepresentation and mistake, these are called as what? Flaws in consent. It will be making the contract as what? What is the effect of the contract? If the agreement is violated because of any of the first four factors, in the sense what? By coercion, by undue influence, by fraud, by misrepresentation, then it is the option of the other party. Either he can enter into contract or he can reject it. And our first four is called as what? Coercion, undue influence, fraud and misrepresentation. Those are called as what? Voidable contracts. And the last thing, however, if the agreement is induced by mistake of both the parties, then it is called as what? Void. Are you getting me, all of you? Free and genuine consent? Yes. Next one. Lawful objects. Object in the sense what? For which purpose the parties are entering into a contract. So the agreements made with unlawful object is not enforceable, or it is not approved in the court of law. It should not be against law. Against law means what? It should not be into illegal manner. Like, for example, supplying drugs. Immoral means what? Indulging in, for example, like prostitution, right? And opposed to public policy in the sense what? For example, like, bribing, indulging in corruption, All these things are called as what? Unlawful objects. Whenever two parties are entering into an agreement for this purpose, of course, it will not be turned into a valid contract. It will be stopping in the agreement stage itself. Then these are called as what? Illegal agreements, and it is absolutely void. Void in the sense what? It will not have any legal effect. Next one, not declared as void. See, law itself is saying, okay, law itself is saying certain agreements, when parties are entering into it, it becomes what? At the entering stage itself, okay, at the time of entering into agreement itself, it is not approved by law. It is absolutely void. Even though the agreement satisfied all of the essential conditions of a valid contract, yet it should not have been declared by any law in force. Already we have discussed this example, right? Agreements with alien enemy. For example, a war has been declared between two countries. For example, China and Pakistan. A Chinese party has been entering into a business agreement with Pakistani party. So it becomes what? Absolutely what? Alien enemy. So it is declared as what? For example, India-Pakistan war, India-China war. Whenever we are entering into a contract with one of the country on whom India has been declaring war, they are called as what? Indirect enemy to us. So we are not supposed to do it. And it is called as what? Absolutely declared as void. Next one, certainty or possibility of performance. What is called certainty? When we are entering into a contract, the performance of the contract should be happening, or it should be possible for both the parties. The terms of the contract should not be vague in the sense what? Unclear, uncertain, it may or it may not happen, or indefinite in the sense what? Not even fixing up anything. For example, like I'm asking you, give me 10 lakh rupee, okay, today night when you're sleeping, I'll catch the moon, take the moon and you can play in your hands. Is it possible? Of course, it's not possible, right? And next one, for example, you come and join in my company as an employee, like I'll pay you whatever amount I want to pay you as a salary. This part is what? Indefinite. So agreements of impossible act, which is not at all possible, is not called as what? Contract. For example, Mr. A agreed to sell one of his cars without mentioning the type of car to Mr. B is void. For example, Mr. A is having like 3 Benz car, okay, 2 Audi car, and he's saying to Mr. B, you come and purchase whichever car you want. See, Mr. A may be thinking that what? He wants to sell Benz car to Mr. B, but Mr. B may be thinking that what? He may be purchasing Audi car from Mr. A. Is it possible? Did you remember, ma'am? We can relate this example with the question which you have previously explained. Can I hear it from all of you? Yes, under which question we exactly understood this example? I made you to repeat it again and again. Yes, it is consensus ad idem. Did you remember this? So both the parties, they does not have any consensus ad idem, hence the contract is what? Void. And last one is called as what? Legal formalities. Okay, after entering into a contract, that is, for example, like A and B, they are entering into contract. A wants to sell his house property to Mr. B, and let me assume that the value of the house property is for 20 lakhs, right? So both the parties, of course, no, A is offering to B house property. In turn, B is giving his what? Acceptance to Mr. A, and is enforceable by law? Of course, it is enforceable by law, because selling of the house property, selling and purchasing a house property is called as what? Approved by law. So here, offer is also there. Yes or no? Acceptance is also there. Then here comes what? Agreement also there. Yes, it is enforceable by law. Of course, selling and purchasing a house property is what? Legal, right? Hence, it becomes a valid contract. Okay, so they both are entering into contract. Ma'am, when they were entering into contract, how come they can validate that they were entering into a contract? Can they write in the A4 size paper, or can they write in the white sheet? Okay, Mr. A and Mr. B will sit together. Come on, we'll have coffee or samosa. Then happily we'll negotiate whatever the terms and conditions. No, it is not so, right? So the agreement should be enforceable by law, should comply with all of the legal formalities, such as what? Registration. It should be written on the stamp paper, and after that it should be getting registered, and the witness signature should be there whenever it is necessary. For example, like the witness can be what? They can be he or she can be the lawyer or a chartered accountant or a cost accountant, as it has been mentioned under Indian Contract Act. Are you getting me? The contract can be in oral or it can be in written. Written in the sense what? Of course, it will be getting written on the stamp paper, it will be getting registered, right? Oral in the sense what? Through express. Basically, none of them will be entering into express contracts actually, because in case if they have any legal issues, no, they don't have any evidence to file a suit against the defaulting party. Next one, the agreement should satisfy all of the legal formalities mentioned in the Contract Act. So till now we discussed about the essentials of a valid contract. Of course, we had 10 points, right? Hope so that is like very easy and very very much interesting to learn also. You can ask me, ma'am, what are the expected questions from this topic? See, this itself is a very much expected question. How this question will be coming in the examination? What is called as contract? Explain the essential elements of valid contract. When they ask you like this, of course you have to write offer plus acceptance is equals to what? Agreement. Once it is enforceable by law, then becomes a valid contract. And you're going to write the definition of the contract which is given under Indian Contract Act that we have discussed in the previous video. Then you start explaining this essentials of valid contract. Are you getting me? It starts from offer or proposal, then it will be ending with legal formalities. Is it clear, all of you? Yes. Thank you so much for watching, all of you. I'll catch all of you with the next interesting question.